I was sort of asked if I knew anybody who would be really good for the theme Now or Never with Ex-Fabula. And through my day job, I was lucky enough to, at one point, have met Ashley, and I thought the perfect subject, perhaps, of a Now or Never story. Ashley is in the process of trying to raise enough money for
my sex change surgery. So, yes, I am transgendered, male to female. And yes, the surgery, for those who may not know, costs around $20,000 to $25,000 and is not covered by health insurance. And I am currently making a documentary called Making the Cut, which sort of features...
Feel free to laugh, that's really funny.
Which features my efforts to do fundraising as well as looking at issues that transgender people face, you know, what it means to be male or female-bodied in our culture.
If you're like me and my wife, one of our favorite programs in the world is This American Life, and one of our favorite This American Life programs is when two families are trying to figure out what to do with their 2- and 3-year-old seemingly transgendered children, and how to like sort of treat them. And I talked to Ashley earlier, and she wasn't, you know, it wasn't that early, but you started around what age and why?
Well, I started questioning my gender when I was 13. So sort of around the time like puberty set in, you know, your body starts going through changes. And they were not necessarily changes that I wanted to happen.
So did you like literally get a hard-on one day and like, wow, this is not cool?
No, hard-ons have always been pretty cool. But it was more that that wasn't, you know, what I wanted necessarily. So, it's funny you bring up that story. I think they just played that on This American Life a couple of weeks ago. And while it was playing, my brother called me up and was like, "Hey, are you listening to This American Life?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm listening to it. And then the next day, my dad called me. I was like, "Oh, did you listen to This American Life?" I'm like, yes, I heard it. And a friend at work was like, "Oh yeah, there was that transgendered story on This American Life." And I was like, "Yes, I'm aware. Thank you, Ira Glass."
Well, you just mentioned though your father, your brother, and a friend. I can't imagine that it happened so seamlessly, where like you just walked up to your dad and said, "Hey, I want to be a woman." You know, like how did that happen?
And thinking about tonight, I was thinking about a lot of the now or never moments, and being transgendered, there are a ton of them. You know, now or never when you come out to friends and family. Now or never when you decide if you're going to start transitioning, taking hormones, all those sorts of things. So I told my dad over Christmas break, we went out to this restaurant and we kind of like hemmed and hawed around, or I sort of hemmed and hawed around the subject. And then, you know, was like, "Oh, by the way, I want to be a woman now." So it was kind of just like that, but it was a lot more emotionally conflicting. My brother, on the other hand, I was really worried how he was going to take it, and I was afraid he was going to be super upset. So I decided I would write him an email. But the folly on my part was that I wrote this email on April 1st. So I didn't plan that one, time that one out right away, but...
What was the time like before the time you realized it, or when was the time you realized it, and the time that you actually decided? I mean, like, sometimes it's instantaneously, like you're 13 and you decide that's what I want, but sometimes it's not.
Right. When I was 13, I started like dressing up and trying on my mom's clothes. Sadly, I didn't have an older sister or anything like that. But I didn't really know. I grew up in Texas, in a sort of like secluded little suburb. outside of Houston.
Texas, really?
Yes, in Texas.
Damn.
Tell me about it. So, from the time I was 13, I was trying on clothes, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I just knew that I liked to do this, and at the time I kind of thought it was this sexual fetish. It wasn't until actually I moved to Milwaukee and was out on my own for the first time that I was able to go online and find out about transgenderism, transsexuals, and learn what was actually happening with me. But from the time
how old were you then?
I was 20 when that happened. But it was another 5 years before I actually had the guts and the courage to go for it.
And now, so you've already achieved or gone through 5 now or never periods. Now is the your film that you're raising money for is making the cut. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yes. It's sort of, a lot of people say it's their end goal when they think about people who are transitioning is having that surgery, but really that will just be sort of the icing on the cake.
No, seriously, thank you. This is great, and I'm glad you would expose.
Thanks for having me.